All right. What is going on, everybody? I'm not going to start by saying the date because I'm trying to keep it a timeless episode. And because we have a special guest today, I'm just going to go ahead and play the intro music and introduce the guest.
Perhaps your skills do extend a bit farther than basketball.
As I was saying, I have a special guest. This is someone that I met multiple years back. I don't even know how many years back, probably like 3 or 4. But anyways, we have my boy Declan Lune in the building. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Declan Lune. I went to Mohawk in Hamilton for 3 years in their music program, and that was where I met Dante. Yeah, that was about 4 or 5 years ago now. Man, time just freaking flies, eh?
Time flies, I know. And you also been flying. I saw you move to like Ireland or something like that.
Yeah, man, that was a wild ride.
tell me,
Um,
tell me a little bit about that. How was Ireland?
Yeah, it was a very special experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have Irish family,
Okay,
and my grandmother was born there,
nice.
and it's very much one of those things that Ireland in the 30s and 40s, and then even in the 50s and 60s, was not really a place you wanted to be. Like
Okay.
there I mean, there was a lot of heavy stuff going around the world, but Ireland was definitely one of those places that took a real hit during those times. There was a lot of violence, a lot of civil, um, arguments, and they're on one side, we're on the other kind of thing. And so my grandma wanted to leave, and so the only reason, I mean, I was born in Canada was because my grandmother decided to leave and have a family in
Mm,
Canada.
yeah.
And then when you go back and then you kind of learn about the history, you really see how that's the case, where these people wanted to make new lives for themselves. So that was a whole kind of big realization just from a personal perspective that I had. And
Yep.
then I went through the whole passport process to get an Irish passport before I
Okay.
went to live there. So I
Yep.
went over there kind of as an Irish citizen, and it was that was kind of insane because I went there kind of expecting to learn more about this country that I loved,
Mm-hmm.
but ended up learning that this country was my true home. It
Mm.
I 25 years of living in Canada, I've never ever felt at home living in this country. I mean,
Interesting.
it's the country I was born in, and it's the
Yeah.
country I love for sure. I
Yep.
mean, compared to other countries in the world,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing, but
Yep.
at the end of the day, my home feels like it lies in Ireland way more than it does here. It
So let
and
me let me ask you a quick question. While are you still in Ireland right now, or are you back in Canada?
So I'm back in Canada right now.
All right. While you were in Ireland, do you feel, or did you feel like a little bit lighter? Like, did you feel like you're kind of in an environment that suited you, rather than being here in Canada?
Yeah, so it at first it was tricky just because I moved there in September of 2020.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, it was a kind of a bad time, sort of globally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got there, and then there's a whole adapting to, you know, different grocery stores,
For sure. Yeah.
different layout. Like it was definitely something I had to kind of go through, but luckily enough, I was able to just get Uber Eats for the first 2 months I was there, because I
Nice.
2 weeks, sorry, not months, 2 weeks, because I wouldn't have been able to eat otherwise, because I had to
Yep.
quarantine when I
Yep.
got there.
Yep.
But
Yep.
so that was kind of hard. But then I start going to university there, and I start learning all this stuff and meeting all these people,
Mm-hmm.
and and then it kind of just went up from there. It was like, oh, sorry, I better put my phone on silent there.
Was that R2D2?
That was our 2D2.
So
My,
funny. That also used to be my like ringtone or text tone.
oh my God, no way, that's funny. No, but yeah, it took me a while to kind of really feel. the kind of rhythm of it,
Mm-hmm.
but from the minute I was there, it it I mean, I went there with my family in October, I think of 2019,
Uh-huh.
before I moved there, and actually before I actually knew I was going to go to Ireland the year after that. But I when I first touched down in Dublin, you just kind of look around and everything is just so much more inviting than it is here.
Yep.
Like the whole culture and just just the way everything is set up over there just seems everything's about kind of being inviting, and how the social uh uh sort of interactions are the most important ones. And so people there's a it was an amazing experience,
Yeah.
just learning about the country and then living there and taking all that in. So yeah, it was from day one, but it took me a while to really set in.
Oh, for sure. There's always that period of like acclimation where it's like you got to kind of get used to it, but it does, like you said, it did feel better once you touch down.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
at the start, you mentioned, that you were going to Mohawk and you're in the music program. Did you play any music while you're over in Ireland?
So I was studying music production while I was in Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And so because I did the 3 years at Mohawk, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to go over to Ireland and do a fourth year and get a bachelor's in music production and technology.
Nice.
So that was kind of insane. And so I took the opportunity. And so part of the fourth year is you do what's called an FYP, or final year project.
Okay.
And for my course, it was pretty much anything music production or technology related. So, some guy built a guitar, another
Mm.
guy, wanted to. I think he wanted to like manage a big like outdoor event, so he knew kind of the ins and outs of being able to, you know, start your own production company, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, or you could like make an album, make an EP, record someone's album, mix someone's album, something like that.
Ah, interesting. So, it, it was this programs connected to Mohawk, or is this something where it was kind of like a situation where you did your 3 years and then, hey, where could I take this 3 years and then, you know,
Yeah, it was kind of an agreement between Mohawk and the
oh,
university where you could actually go over and do a fourth year, so you didn't have to do the previous 3 years
yeah,
of
yeah.
their program. And so yeah, it was interesting. And actually, while I was over there, I for my FYP, I did my EP. I recorded and produced my EP while I was there. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so the cool thing is that you had a supervisor, right? So he would kind of give you hints and say, "Hey, try this. Hey, do this," and then
Yeah.
you would try and implement those things. So yeah, it was a wild experience because I felt for the first time in my life that I was in charge of a project, and all the
Mm,
work that I put into it was
yeah.
gonna dictate what the end product was. Because even though the recitals for Mohawk were canceled, which was a real shame, it didn't. And I think a lot of my year will agree with me on this. Is it didn't quite feel like, our show, like you've got an hour and do whatever you want with it, because
Yeah.
it was like we had to do these things in order to pass or whatever. So there was a different feeling, I think, with the recitals. But then we didn't even get to do the recitals anyway, so we
Yeah.
never really got to.
So, did they cancel them in 2020? That's when it was like cuz or
Y-
was it
Yeah,
2019? I don't
yeah,
even.
it
What
was
year are we in?
it was the 2019-2020 year, and we were
Okay.
gonna do our recitals in April,
April.
yeah,
Yes, that's right. And then
of
yeah.
2020, yeah. So it was
Ah,
like
okay.
2 weeks before the recitals, and then everything shut down.
Yeah. Wow. And so let me ask you this because one of the things you said is you enjoyed the fact that this was your project through and through for your FYP. What was it like to you once you actually got to complete it? You listened back to it and it's like, yeah, like I made this. Like this is my project. What was that like for you?
it was weird because it's all I'd wanted.
Mm.
Once it was released, it was like there was a point for me where it wasn't about whether the music was gonna be good, because I got the music to a point, and I took certain liberties in terms of making sure the project got done where I knew I was gonna get a good product at the end.
Okay.
So that kind of became less of a priority for me, and the bigger priority was, let me get this out there. Let me show people what I can do and
Mm-hmm.
what my buddy Alan can do. My buddy who engineered the project with me, because
Nice.
if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have gotten done,
Mm-hmm.
because he was just able to he had the expertise I didn't have. And so when the EP released, I listened to these songs so many times that you just kind of go, oh, I just hope people like it. I
Yeah.
hope I don't get too many people saying they don't like it, because I was full on expecting like half my friends to be like, because I wanted real responses, right? And
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
then when people were like, no, I think it's good, I was kind of like, it was just, yeah, it was a crazy moment for me, for sure.
What's something that you learned what's something that you learned while going through that process that you didn't really expect to learn?
Two, I guess what I learned was that, like, I had a lot of expectations going into that project that almost none of them ended up working out.
Okay.
And so what I had to do was, it was like, okay, well, how do I get around that? How do I figure out another way to do this?
Mm.
And so
Okay.
that was the biggest learning lesson for me, where it was like, you've got this thing you want to do, but then you have to let go of that and then try and figure out another way to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, because that's the job, right? You can't just latch on to these things that may not happen.
Gotcha. Yeah. You like you're saying you don't want to, get stuck on something that's not really working rather than it would be much better to be able to adapt and figure out, okay, well, we tried this didn't really work. Let's try and take it in this direction that we think might work. Oh, it is working. Let's keep going and, going down that route. So that's good to hear that, I think being able to adapt, or even just like you said, having the expectations. Do you think not having expectations would have been better for you going through it? Or do you think that was something that you really needed to learn?
I definitely needed to learn that. Like, I I I thought for the longest time there was a part of me that just thought, if you really knew what you were doing, you had everything figured out beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And like watching LT, it was like, when in first year, when I was going over to your guys' house all the time,
Yeah.
watching him write and say what he was writing, and Adam would be reacting to it. It was there was a part of me that was just, well, this guy already knows. He already has it
Mm,
figured out. But it's
yeah.
not that. It's, how do I figure out really what I want to say? But LT just has so much practice doing it.
Yeah, that is one thing that I will say about LT is like he takes it like super serious. Like even just, not to compare like other artists, but LT practices a lot. You know what I mean? Like even, like you said, we live together, right? And it's
Yeah.
like I saw the amount of practice this guy was putting in, even like back then. It's just like, yeah, I got a show coming up next week. I got to practice X amount of times, and then you got to make sure you keep that kind of regiment going versus, somebody that doesn't really practice or doesn't take it as serious. It's not going to look as if they really know what it is they're doing. Whereas, like you said, LT, he's been practicing. He's like, man, this guy really, knows his stuff. But it
Yeah.
comes from that practice and that, I guess, self-confidence that comes with practicing a lot, right?
Yeah, and in LT's case, there was this aspect of, there was a lot of us in that program that I think we just looked at him and we were just so impressed, because it was like he was a rapper in a jazz program and he made it work.
That's so true. I completely forget that there was no other rappers in that course. It was just like everyone else was, like you said, playing jazz or other instruments, and then here comes LT, where it's like, yeah, my lyrics are my instrument.
Yeah, he made it work, and we all just went, "Oh my God, he's making it work!" It was really wild to see, and I loved him from day one for it, just
I
because.
know, right?
I mean, me and him had the connection just because I was raised being my mom being part Irish and my
Mm-hmm.
dad having a lot of you know, knowledge of the English culture
Yes.
from them living there.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised on like Monty Python
Yep.
and all this British stuff. So when I met him, he was one of the only people I was able to really talk about that stuff with. And it made him feel kind of good too, because he'd just moved to Canada, and now here's
Yep.
this guy who kind of understands
Yeah.
where he came from. So it was kind of interesting when we met.
Yeah. What was that? Because I wasn't in that music program, so like, what was that music program like at Mohawk, and if someone were to be going into that program first year, because the school season just started, like, what would you tell someone going into that program?
Um, I guess what I would say is it's for me, it was one of, if not the best experience of my life,
Mm-hmm.
because being around the people, my peers who were all at a similar level musically, who all had a similar drive, and then the teachers and the diversity and stuff that I was learning. It's it was I would my advice would be, take it all in. Don't
Mm.
have any predisposed notions of I'm gonna do this, or this is gonna be like this. You just, if you take in what the program teaches you and you apply it to whatever it is you want to do, I truly think Mohawk, the Mohawk music program, has that ability to give you the skills you need to go out into the music industry nowadays, because you can't just put all your eggs in one basket now. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just be good at this or be good at that. You have to kind of know at least how to get everything done,
Yeah.
because if you don't, then there's all these things that, you just got to throw at that point, you just got to throw money at the problem.
Mm.
and
Gotcha.
that and that's the problem. And with music, it's so bloody difficult to generate income that
Yep.
you have to make a name for yourself just to get people to invest in you.
Mm. That is very
so
true. Yeah.
so that's and that really, because if we were able to make more money and people were able to generate, recoup their losses on an investment, then it would be easier for musicians to make it, because then you just put in the work. But it's not just about putting in the work. It's about, at the end of the day, for me, what I'm realizing is that it's about making sure people like you and people want to go see you again. Because if people want to go see you again, then you're only going to grow from there.
Yes. That is very true. So we're at the 18-minute mark. I'm gonna ask you, what is something spiritual about yourself that you've learned going through this process?
I guess this it would kind of be learning to forgive myself, and learning to not get attached to the ideas that I thought were, you know, I do this, my life is going to be like this. Like,
Mm,
trying to let go of those ideas and kind of just seeing where it takes you.
awesome, awesome. Well, dude, that was a great episode. I've enjoyed this conversation, man. Is there anything you want to plug? Anywhere you want people to follow you or anything like that?
I tend to post a lot of, videos of me playing on Instagram at Dex_Lune. So you can follow me there, and I tend to post all my stuff there. So that would probably be the best way to follow me.
Perfect. Well, it was great chatting with you, man. And to everyone listening, make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you share this with someone, and then tell that person to share it with someone else, because that's how we grow in the algorithm. And with that being said, I hope all of you have a great day. And until next time, peace, y'all. How was that, dude?
That was awesome.